Today's video doesn't have too much of a point to it, other than to chronicle my few hours out in Vilnius Old Town with my wife. I guess the most interesting and eventful thing is that we went to 2 different restaurants before finding a third one that was open and offered something we were interested in eating. Anyways, if you want to see what a sunny Sunday in June in the Vilnius Old Town looks like, well, just keep watching. Our day out just happened to be Father's Day, but it wasn't exactly planned to be a celebration. We just arranged to have someone look after our son to allow us to go out for a short time, and this was just one of the days that they were available. We do live somewhat close to the city center, but you would be surprised how quickly time passes when you're just walking. With that in mind, I convinced my wife to take a Bolt electric scooter with me so that we could get to the center faster and have more time before needing to return for our son. Right now, these scooters cost something like 22 cents a minute. I guess it's not much in the grand scheme of things, but it does add up. And then when you're paying for 2 scooters and then you're stuck at a long traffic light, then it's like, well, this one light is going to cost me like a whole euro just to stand here. Nonetheless, it is a fun thing to do once in a while, especially when there are nice, smooth, and spacious bicycle lanes and pathways around Vilnius to safely get around. Of course, getting closer to the old town, it made more sense just to walk, since scooter speed is limited in most of this zone. And then there are also a lot of people to look out for. So we walked and walked and walked, and it was a nice walk for a nice sunny day. The one section here has to be one of my favorite streets. I believe it's called something like Šventasis Ignoto Street, and it looks just picturesque, as you can see from this video. Things were extra charming as the church bells were ringing just as we got to the end of this one section. Our intended destination was pretty close to the end of this road, Sanatoriu Pasažas. It's this cute little courtyard of sorts which houses a few different restaurants and shops. But they're all branded similarly, so my assumption is that they're all under the same management. It looked so nice that I was keen to try having lunch here. Unfortunately, when we arrived, just before noon, it didn't seem like any kind of lunch place was open. There was a cafe open, as was a wine shop, but nothing for lunch, which reminded me of the need to do proper research beforehand. So then we just ended up leaving in search of a different restaurant. Anyways, Sanatoriu Pasažas is definitely a place that's on my list, and I'll just have to come back another time. We continued our walk through the old town with an intention to visit the restaurant called Pirmas Blynas, which in English means first pancake. We had been there a few times before, and I love the social mission of the place. The food is good, but equally as awesome is that it's a pancake/crepe restaurant which hires adults with developmental disabilities as servers and other staff. Making it even cooler is that it's at the bottom of a beautiful old church. It's definitely something to experience while you're in Vilnius. I remember when I first started the Lithuania Explained YouTube channel, I wanted to feature this place and bring more attention to it. I even got in touch with the restaurant founder, and we went back and forth a little bit, but then he just stopped responding to my emails. So that was disappointing. While people doing that is kind of my pet peeve, I still think Tim is doing some pretty awesome work. So please do consider going there and supporting the restaurant. Before we began our walk from Sanatoriu Pasažas to Pirmas Blynas, we were sure to check Google Maps to see if the restaurant was open, and the app said it was, and even their website says it's open on Sundays too. But when we got there a little after 12 p.m., the only thing that was happening there was a church service. Oh, and then I recognized a tour guide from Vilnius with Locals Tours standing outside giving their Old Town walking tour. But yeah, in terms of restaurants, that was strike 2. We walked back up the street and decided to go to this restaurant called Mason. We knew nothing about it, but there were lots of people eating there, and there seemed to be a few outdoor tables still available. And so this is what we ended up ordering here. I had a mushroom soup along with a Lithuanian eggs benedict with salmon. It was Lithuanian because instead of egg being on an English muffin, the English muffin was replaced with a potato pancake. As for my wife, she ordered an iced coffee and a French omelette and then churros for dessert. The mushroom soup was okay. The truffle oil on top was a very nice touch, and it was full of mushrooms. But I don't know, it just wasn't super enjoyable. At the same time, I don't know exactly what I didn't like about it. It might just be that I'm not a fan of mushroom soup, even though I mostly love mushrooms. The Lithuanian eggs benedict looked amazing. Covered all over in hollandaise sauce, it's these kinds of dishes that are perfect for sharing on social media. The sauce was tasty, but I have to say that overall, the dish was way too salty. The potato pancake was salty, the salmon was quite salty, and then those two things combined was just too much. I love the concept, but I would definitely want to reduce the amount of sodium. and then the churros at the end were tasty for me, so no complaints there. All in all, our experience was alright. The hostess that took us to the table was pleasant, but then our server didn't have such a welcoming disposition. I don't think restaurant staff need to be like super conversational or even have that fake friendliness vibe, but I think they do need to make customers feel welcome, especially if it's a more upscale restaurant. Do let me know if I'm wrong for saying that. After lunch, we walked down to Cathedral Square and caught a bus that would take us closer to home. Along the way, we bought some fresh produce from Calvary Turgus, or Calvary Market. I love green onions, which are called svogūnų in Lithuanian, and so I was sure to get a good amount of those. My wife loves strawberries and tomatoes, and so she got some for herself as well. A lot of the stuff sold at these markets comes from Lithuanian farms, and so it's not traveling too far. My wife is convinced that all of it is tastier as a result, and sometimes cheaper than supermarkets. Well, after our market purchase, we headed home to reconnect with our son. All in all, it was a lovely day of exploration, and then a little bit of adaptation and improvisation. Days like this remind me how lovely it is to live in Vilnius. I definitely feel very lucky to be here. Anyways, thanks for experiencing this day with me. I hope you found it informative or at least interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.